I should have known something was wrong the moment she walked through the door. It was late, almost midnight, and I had been waiting up, a mix of worry and annoyance churning in my stomach. She had said she was just having drinks with her colleagues after a long week at work. A simple, innocent explanation. But as she came closer to give me a quick, almost dismissive kiss on the cheek, a scent hit me. It wasn't her usual perfume, that light floral scent I had bought her for our anniversary. No, this was different. It was a rich, musky cologne. A man's cologne. My heart dropped. It was a smell I didn't recognize, foreign and invasive in our home. I took a step back, and the air between us felt heavy, thick with unspoken questions. I looked at her, really looked at her. Her hair was a little messy, her cheeks were flushed, and there was a brightness in her eyes that didn't seem to come from a simple happy hour with coworkers. It looked like excitement. Like a secret she was desperately trying to contain. "You're late," I said, my voice calmer than I felt. I was trying to give her a chance, an opening to explain. Maybe there was a simple reason. Maybe a colleague had spilled a drink, or they had hugged goodbye. My mind was racing, trying to find a logical explanation. Anything to avoid the conclusion that was already forming in my gut. She just shrugged, avoiding my eyes as she slipped off her shoes. "Yeah, sorry. The time just got away from us." Susan was telling this crazy story about her trip to Italy. We all lost track. She was talking too fast, her words tumbling over each other. It was another sign. When she was nervous, she talked. A lot. "Smells like you had a good time," I pushed, gesturing vaguely to the air. "New perfume?" She froze for a second, her hand halfway to her coat zipper. A flicker of panic crossed her face before she quickly masked it with a casual smile. "Oh, this. No, silly. One of the girls at the office, Maria, she got a new perfume and was having everyone try it." "It's a bit strong, isn't it?" She laughed, a brittle sound that didn't reach her eyes. Maria. I knew Maria. She was a sweet, older woman who was more likely to smell of lavender and tea than a potent men's cologne. The lie was so blatant, so poorly constructed, it was almost insulting. It was in that moment that the tiny crack of doubt in my heart shattered into a million pieces. She was lying to my face, and she didn't even think I was smart enough to see through it. "Right, Maria?" I said, my voice flat. No. I turned and walked into the kitchen, needing some space to breathe. The scent followed me, clinging to her, a phantom presence of another man in our home. I leaned against the counter, my hands gripping the cold granite. Every happy memory we had built in this house suddenly felt tainted, like a photograph slowly burning from the edges. She followed me in, her voice now soft and laced with fake concern. "Hey, is everything okay? You seem a little off." I turned to face her, the anger I had been suppressing finally starting to bubble to the surface. "Off? Why would I be off, Sarah?" My wife comes home at midnight reeking of a stranger's cologne and spins a story so unbelievable a child wouldn't buy it. "No, everything's just peachy." Her face fell. The pretend cheerfulness vanished, replaced by a defensive glare. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I told you what happened. Are you calling me a liar?" Yes, I am," I said, my voice rising. "Do you think I'm an idiot?" "Just tell me the truth, Sarah. For once, just be honest with me. Whose cologne are you wearing?" We stood there in a standoff, the silence in our kitchen screaming louder than our words. Tears started to well up in her eyes, but they didn't look like tears of remorse. They looked like tears of frustration at being caught. "You're being ridiculous," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I'm tired. I'm going to bed." She turned to leave, to escape the conversation, to escape the truth. That was the final straw. Her refusal to even engage, to treat me with a shred of respect, was more painful than the affair itself. "No," I said, my voice firm. "We're not doing this. We're not just going to sleep and pretend this didn't happen. Not this time." Over the next few days, our home became a battleground of cold shoulders and clipped sentences. She continued to deny everything, painting me as a paranoid, jealous husband. She would try to act normal, making breakfast or asking about my day, but the lie hung between us, a toxic fog that choked any attempt at real connection. The man's cologne had faded from her clothes, but it was seared into my memory. I started to notice other things, the way she guarded her phone, angling it away from me whenever a notification popped up. The late nights at the office that were becoming more and more frequent. The the vague answers about where she'd been and who she was with. It was a classic textbook pattern, and I felt like a fool for not seeing it sooner. The confirmation came about a week later. I was doing laundry, a mundane task that suddenly turned my world upside down. As I emptied the pockets of her jeans before putting them in the wash, my fingers brushed against a small folded piece of paper. It was a receipt. A receipt from a fancy downtown hotel dated the night she came home smelling of that cologne. A room for two? It's a name I didn't recognize on the credit card slip tucked inside. I stood there in the laundry room, the hum of the washing machine filling the silence. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just empty. Proof was right there in my hand. A flimsy piece of paper that held the weight of her betrayal. All the lies, the gaslighting, the fake tears, it all came crashing down. When she came home that evening, I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just placed the receipt on the kitchen table. I watched as she walked in, a smile on her face, ready to start another evening of pretending. Her eyes landed on the receipt, and her smile vanished. The color drained from her face. There were no more lies to tell, no more stories to invent. The truth was laid bare on our kitchen table. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. For the first time in weeks, she was speechless. In that moment, I knew our marriage was over. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the disrespect. The blatant lies. The way she tried to make me feel crazy for suspecting the truth. She hadn't just broken my trust. She had shattered it, and our home, once a sanctuary, now just felt like a house full of ghosts and the lingering scent of a stranger's perfume. The days that followed were a blur of painful conversations and logistical nightmares. Separating our lives was like performing surgery on a single being. But with every box I packed, I felt a little bit lighter. Toxic fog was starting to lift. It was a heartbreaking end to a chapter of my life, but it was also a beginning. The beginning of reclaiming my sanity, my self-respect, and my future. A future that would be built on truth, not hidden in the suffocating scent of lies. Sometimes the most painful endings are the ones that finally allow you to breathe again. It's been a long road, but I'm healing. I'm sharing this not for pity, but for anyone who might be in a similar situation, doubting their own gut feeling. Trust your instincts. You deserve honesty, and you deserve respect. If you find yourself in a place where you're constantly being made to feel crazy for what you know is true, it's time to choose yourself. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there. Take care.